Hello, all of you good people out there. We've got another spec banner right before GC, and oh boy. Oh boy. So, heads up, every on-banner new weapon got buffed by about 400-ish points. The old ones, the ones that are already in the game, didn't get touched. They haven't gotten balanced, but the ones that were just added or will be new with the spec banner all got buffed by about 400. The book also had its support skill change, so that's that. So it's Spoot with 4 Misery Gaming doing SINoALICE spec banner for March. So we're just going to do the whole thing, one block, get it over with. So we've got the Sound of Restraints, which is the new one, eventually goes up to LL. Maxed out, this one goes up to 7,000 stats instead of 6678. So if you plan on maxing it through a spec banner, 1, God bless you, good luck. And 2, that's a lot of stats. So it's a support boon 2, increases, it's a 2 target, 2 stat, 18 cost harp, or instrument. This is good. Man, I wish the slime banner hadn't come out this month. I would have blown my whole load on these. These things are ridiculously good. So if you got some extra gems to throw at it, this one's pretty good. String instrument of the evil bone. Eventually gets an LL. It is a magical attack, 2 targets by a moderate amount. Also a support boon 2. Stats at 80 or 5278, so they're slightly above average anyway. We had this one 2 spec banners ago, I believe. It's pretty good if you don't have it. I believe all 3 of these are all support boon 2s. Yeah, they are. So this is the only one that's kind of an outlier. So Violent of Scales is 2 stat, 2 target, which is good. The stats on it are just not great. So like at 80, at L, it's like 4,700, which is not great. But at those like 2 stat, 2 targets, there's 2 of them in this. So for Minstrels, if you've got any gems left over, tap them out. It's too good. It's way too good. Man, it's too good. This is a really good banner for Minstrels, which is 2 months in a row, which really sucks. We've got Forgotten Teachings. Now, in the JP version, it says it's Replenish Magic 2. This has been changed. This is now Support Boon 2, which makes this very good, too, because it's magical attack of 2 enemies by moderate amount. So it's 2 target, 1 stat. It goes up to 7,000 and change at level 120, 5,200 at 80. Stat spread's pretty decent. It's got 1,700 magic attack on it. It's a pretty good book. We've got the Innermost Pleading, Secret to Pleading for One's Life. That's not what it is in America, just so everybody knows. Like, that's not the global name of it. It's Support Boon 2, reduced physical attack of 1 enemy by a massive amount, 4,500 stats. So it's, if you run up against physical vanguards, it's very good. Support Boon 2 is always good. This one's a little less scary than the other one. And then you've got the Prophecy of the Final Act, another support boon 2 target physical defense at 5,200 stats. If you need support boon books or instruments, these are your banners. I don't know if this is a must pull for Tome users for Sorks, but it's close. Like the Minstrel one's very good. If you don't have this barrage, especially with the new one, I would risk probably getting a couple on it. I wouldn't say empty your whole load, but you might want to go a little deep. And then you've got Prophecy of the Final Act, which is physical defense, 2 target, support boon 2. 5,200 stats, so it's slightly above average. So just about all of these are either a tier 4 debuff on 1 target, or at least a moderate buff or debuff on 2, with 2 stats. So it's kind of crazy. Truth and Lies, the new staff, again at 120, 400 stats. It is Recovery Support 2, and it is Staff of Assault. So you heal 2 allies by a moderate amount of HP and increase their magical attack by a small amount. That's really good. This is what I said a couple of videos ago when they're going to start introducing more and more of these that have sort of off-kilter abilities. So if you have a primarily Magic Vanguard, this is a must-pull staff. Like, this thing's nuts. Especially with another Recovery Support too. 5,200 stats, it got buffed so it's got about 400 more stats maxed out. So, like, it is slightly above 5,200. Just apply that to all of the new ones where I say the stats got buffed. There's, like, roughly 4, there's, like, at every level there's, like, 40, and then 80, and then 120, etc. So, like, they're stats to play around with. And it eventually goes to an LL, which is pretty good. Oh man, I love these. So Staff of Precious Wood. This is the same thing. It's got Staff of Assault, so it's 2 allies by a moderate amount, and you increase their magic attack. These stats didn't get touched, so this one's 5,200. Recovery Support 2, so it's pretty good, and eventually goes to LL. And then you've got Staff of Scales, which is heals 1 to 2 allies by a great amount of HP, and Recovery Support 2. The stats on this one are a little more lackluster, especially because of their 400 stats lower on defense. Yes, I know, that's how they all are. It's silly, because you're a cleric. You need defense. You never need attack stats. But anyway. Magic attack banner. So your gunners and your paladins, you're actually eating pretty good. So Master Gun of Skill also goes up by about 400 points at 120, so there's points to play. Just assume that's for all of the ones that I say this one got changed. Dauntless Courage 2 deals deals tier 3 magic damage to 1 enemy and decreases their magic attack by a small amount. The secondary effect's kind of, where if it works, it works. If it doesn't, whatever. 5,100 stats, but it's a DC 2 gun. So, I don't know, man. It's kind of wild. We have the Unintentional Gun, which is another DC 2 gun. So this one deals great magical damage to 1 enemy and increases your own magical attack up. Now, this one's only 5,000 stats, but it's got a lot of magic attack on it. Like, almost 700 more than, well, about a 620 more stats on magic attack than it does on physical attack. So it's a lot of mag. Overall, pretty decent. If you're a gunner, this might be worth digging into, even though we just had a whole ass gunner thing. Scythe of the Magic User. This is the one with the cute little kitty on it. Look at him. He's just sitting there. He's so cute. DC 2 Pally deals 1 to 2 damage, decreases their magical defense by a small amount. This one's pretty good. It's got 6,600. I believe this one was buffed too, so at 120, 400 more stats, and then decrease as it goes down. But even its base, if it's 5,250, it's still pretty high for its base stats. I don't know if Pallies want to really risk going in, although we are getting orb swap with this, so, or grid swap with this, so maybe having both guns and spears is not a bad plan. Physical DPS, we've got the Stick of Decayed Ropes. Again, 400 stats at 120, so figure that out. Dauntless Courage 2 Hammer. This one's actually kind of crazy. So Wind God's Force is deal great physical damage to 1.5 targets, decrease their physical and magical attack by a small amount. So, like, this is a pretty good hammer. Like, physical attackers, you should probably be yanking this one. This is pretty good. You've also got Hegemony of the Emperor, another Dauntless Courage 2. Well, it says physical debuff until you LL it, so maybe less so. But it does decrease their physical defense, and it's about 5,000 stats, so I don't know. If you don't have a good enough hammer, like, eventually that one's going to get really, really good. But I could see holding off on that one. Blade of the Water Dragon, also a new one. Its stats are slightly higher. You're looking at, like, 7,000 and change, so adjust accordingly. Dauntless Courage 2 Sword deals great physical damage and decreases both defense stats to them. If you're a breaker, Godspeed. Godspeed, you Black Emperor. And that's all banners. So I don't go over orbs because you shouldn't be using your crystals on orbs. Like, they're nice for PvE content. We keep having this discussion in the comments. People are like, oh no, you should have an orb grid built. Like, yeah, I get it. You should, yes. But you shouldn't be pulling orbs on banners. Or you shouldn't be going for orb banners, I guess is what I should say. So, Minstrels and Clerics, I would say if you don't have at least one of these, you should probably throw some gems in to get it. Same thing with the Clerics. Like, all three of these staffs. Staff of Scales less so, but the other two are very good. Mostly because they eventually LL, which is a time off, but the stats are good. God, the stats are good. Sorks, I think you have an argument for maybe not pulling unless you don't have a lot of support boon, since this one got changed to support boon instead of replenish magic. I think the tomes are fine. I don't think they're, like, really impressive. But if you don't have support boon, again, you sort of have to look at it. Gunners, I think you've got some I think you've got some options in here to start pulling on, as well as paladins who are trying to have a gunner set for grid swap. I don't know if you really should, because, you know, whatever. But if you were swapping for Shinma or something like that, it would be pretty good. So these are good. The physical attack, I think, is the weakest one, because most people aren't building blade breakers, because the Half Nightmare is not there. So I don't know. But the hammers are both pretty good. I like the new banner hammer. I like the Decayed Ropes one a lot. But, again, the Hegemony of the Emperor is alright, but it does go LL eventually. So you're really pulling for 1.5 out of the 3 of them. So I don't want to say mediocre, but pretty decent. So take a look at them. Do what you're thinking. I think Minstrels and Clerics have a lot of investment here. Sorks are probably next in line, but they are spec banners, so your rates are dog shit, as they say. Everybody says that. That's a saying, right? That's a whole thing. So that's it for me. Everybody enjoy. Just have a good time. Enjoy one another and be cool.